Have you ever looked up what addiction means, like from a spiritual standpoint?
Enlighten me. I don't think so. From a spiritual standpoint, no.
I looked up what addiction meant in the Hebrew, the Greek, and all that stuff, Aramaic. It pretty much it means to put yourself up for sale.
Hmm.
When I realized that, I was like, oh no. So you're talking about demasking addiction. You're talking about getting people to realize that they're selling themselves to the highest bidder or whatever can fit the need for the moment.
Hmm.
Does that make sense? I'm hoping I'm saying that right.
I can see probably the point that you're making. I do know that addiction robs you of your who you really are. You will do anything when you're fully in your addiction to get high, to get drunk. You'll forsake a lot of things that you wouldn't do if you are aware of who you are in your normal state. Addiction does rob
And
one.
so what I'm saying is, in the Bible, they're called harlots. In the natural world, we call them prostitutes, or the more common term nowadays is sex workers. But what a person is doing whenever they become addicted to something is they're selling themselves. They're giving of themselves to the highest bidder.
Mm,
Alcohol can get me there, so I'm gonna give myself the alcohol. And what I'm saying is they're giving themselves to it. Slavery, you had to submit to your master. And you were sold into
mm,
slavery. When I really start paying attention to that, and you think about it from a biblical standpoint, Jesus sold himself into sin. He gave himself into sin by hanging on a cross,
mm,
where the debt was paid. So we didn't have to do anymore. We didn't have to do all these other sacraments of religiosity. We just had to submit to the master, who was Jesus
mm,
Christ. But addicts are submitting to a false savior,
mm.
whether it be crack, weed, meth, whatever. Sometimes it's people, sometimes it's a job, sometimes whatever. I mean, we can talk about coda, we can talk about all these different addictions, but people are giving themselves to it and it not knowing that it's not going to give back. Because ministry is when you give of yourself, not expecting to receive anything back. But what they're getting back is damnation. What they're getting back is depression. What they're getting back is anxiety. They're getting back lost. They're losing everything, but they're thinking that that thing is saving them.
Well, to an extent, I think I've also seen it from the other perspective of one will do anything to not feel. Sometimes when you experience really bad traumas, be it sexual, mental, emotional, physical, neglect, abandonment,
Yeah.
one after the other, you develop a coping mechanism where it started out as a coping mechanism. I'll just drink to get over it. I'll just drink to deal. I'll just get high because I know he's gonna hit me later and I won't feel it as bad if I'm under the influence. So it becomes that. But eventually, instead of being a coping mechanism, it now develops to codependency. I need this to survive. I need this to keep pushing. Without this, I'm going to go through withdrawals. Without this, I may suffer in some way, shape, or form. And so now we have full blown addiction, but a lot of that is the addiction is the what. There's so much why behind it. And I may be too scared to confront the why because the why hurt me so bad, I may want to commit suicide. The why hurt me so bad, I don't even know who I am without this drug. So now I have this drug because it's become a part of my identity. And sometimes we become okay with living in the dysfunction because at least I know what dysfunction looks like. If I even try to
Mm.
achieve normalism, whatever normalism is, if I try to receive wholeness and to explore ways to heal from that, that's harder. And I
Yeah.
rather do what's easier, what's safer, what's familiar than to stretch out. The thing about learning Jesus after you've had church hurt is you also have to be comfortable with that confrontation, one, with God and with Jesus, being upset, frustrated, angry, and then dealing with that war, that friction, and being able to say, okay,
Mhm.
if you hold my hand through this, all of me, even if I have a lapse, even if I have a relapse, even if I slip back and date the guy that I know I shouldn't have been, if you walk with me, eventually I'll be saved. Eventually I'll conform. Eventually I'll transform. But that takes a lot just to admit that this addiction
Yeah.
isn't. going to serve me long.